Hi there guys, happy Friday. I hope that you're all well and keeping safe. Thought today we can round off these last 2 weeks by talking a bit more about different skills to help us regulate our emotions. So two sort of concepts I'll be talking about today are something called emotional regulation and distress tolerance. So all about how we can manage some of these difficult emotions so that we feel more in control of how we're feeling. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stick around. So let's start by talking a bit more about what we mean by emotional regulation and distress tolerance. So emotional regulation is our ability to exert control over our own emotions. And I say control in these inverted commas because, we can't necessarily control how we feel about things, if we're triggered by something that is out of our control a lot of the time. But what we can control is our response to these situations. So we can stop the emotions from controlling us and we can feel more in control of how we respond to things. And then similarly, distress tolerance is our ability to manage emotional distress and manage some of these difficult emotions. So they both sort of go hand in hand. So in this video I'm going to talk a bit about specific skills that we can work on our emotional regulation. But what they're all really teaching us is to stop and think, so to pause between feeling and reaction. So rather than sort of reacting straight away and maybe sort of reacting in a not so positive way, we're going to try and learn to stop and think things through so that we're reacting and feeling more in control of that reaction. So yeah, emotional regulation helps us to sort of, helps us learn how to express some of these difficult emotions and feel like we have influence over when and how and which emotions we feel. So that's the plan for today. So the first step, I think, in working on some of these skills is to work on our self-awareness. So being able to notice and recognise some of these feelings, some of these emotions, being able to name them, because when we can give it a name, it makes it a bit less scary. And I think what can help with that self-awareness is to, work on our own self-compassion. So being kind to ourselves, there's no shame in feeling any of our emotions. There's no shame in asking for help when it comes to these difficult emotions. So, by being kind, we're going to allow ourselves to express any of these emotions rather than suppress, rather than bottle them up. And I think mindfulness can also help when it comes to your own self-awareness, so being in the moment and noticing what it is you're actually feeling, where in your body you're experiencing that emotion. So yeah, self-awareness is really important so that we can then move on to some of these other skills. So the two main skills that I wanted to talk about in this video are some skills called opposite action and radical acceptance. I know, I feel like I'm sort of throwing lots of big words at you today, but hopefully I can explain them all in turn and they'll make a bit more sense and not sound or not seem as scary as they might sound. So let's start with opposite action. So the idea is that every emotion that we feel has an action urge tied to it. So for example, when we're angry, we might feel like we want to punch something or shout. If we feel scared, we might want to run away. If we're feeling sad, we might want to isolate ourselves from other people. So when these emotions or these urges sort of don't fit the facts of the situation, if they don't sort of go together with the actual situation we're in, that's when we can use opposite action. So the steps of this involve, so firstly we need to identify that emotion. So this goes back to that self-awareness we were talking about. So we're going to identify what it is we're actually feeling. So let's, for example, say that it's anger. We're then going to identify the action urge that goes with that emotion. So, you know, what is it that your body is instinctively thinking of doing? And that might be, like I said, wanting to punch something. Then we're going to think, does this urge, does this action fit with my situation? You know, is this the right thing for me to be doing? And you know, probably isn't, let's be honest. So that's when opposite action comes in. So if we realise that punching something probably isn't the best way to deal with this situation, what we're going to do is do the opposite of the action. So opposite action. So we're going to sort of channel that inner rebel and do the opposite of what our mind is telling us to do. So maybe rather than, you know, punching something, we're going to go walk away, or we're going to go have a time out. And this works with all emotions. So like I said about feeling low, when we want to maybe shut ourselves away from people, we can use this idea of opposite action to try and force ourselves to, you know, reach out to other people or be more sociable. And you know, when we do this over time, we might notice a decrease in some of these negative emotions. Then we have radical acceptance. So this is when we are letting go of the things that we cannot control and radically accepting the things that we are. So we're accepting the situation without any judgment, without trying to force any change upon the situation. And you know, accepting something doesn't mean that we're giving up, or that, you know, we agree with the situation, or that we feel okay about what's going on. It just means that we're accepting that, you know, it is what it is, and that we can't influence that. You know, and being able to do that means that we're not paying it any more attention than it needs to be taking up in our minds. So I guess in this sense, acceptance is the same as acknowledgement. We're just acknowledging what's going on and considering what it is we can and can't control, so that we can let go of the things that are out of our control, so that we're not sort of using up any energy worrying about it. And then I thought we could wrap up today's video. I could share some other skills that you might want to consider when it comes to regulating emotions. This is such a big topic. I feel like we could talk about this all day. You know, I could have split this into lots and lots of different videos, but I've just tried to sort of do a bit of a whistle-stop tour of different things just to get you thinking, and you can go away and maybe learn about these in more detail if you'd like to. So some other skills maybe are things like distraction techniques. So these are really great if we're feeling particularly stressed, or, you know, feeling an emotion quite intensely. You know, just have a think, what can I do just for the next 20 minutes to take my mind off things? And you know, I think sometimes the more random the task, the better. Just anything that's going to shift your mindset to think about something else. We can also, you know, do some self-soothing activities. So this is when we are using all of our senses to help calm ourselves down. So this is great because it incorporates some of that mindfulness stuff, you know, bringing us back into the here and now, so that we're not sort of overthinking or stressing about things. So like I say, using all the emotions, you know, something, I don't know, think, you know, having a nice bath, you know, doing something relaxing, you know, going on a walk and listening to all the sounds that you can hear. Anything that incorporates the different senses and helps you to feel that inner calm. And then as well, we've got sort of cognitive reappraisal. So this is when we are trying to change the way that we view a situation. So we're trying to look at it from a different perspective, challenge some of those negative thoughts, you know, test the reality of those thoughts. Think, you know, what would I say if a friend was feeling this way? What evidence do I have for and against this thought? So yeah, so again there, just some extra things to bear in mind when it comes to emotional regulation. So there we go, guys. Like I said, I could have spoken about this for hours on end probably, but I'm conscious of how long this video already is. You know, so we've spoken about, you know, different emotional regulation skills, so things like opposite action, radical acceptance, working on our self-awareness, and then some other quick tips like self-soothing and distraction techniques. So I hope that you found this useful, that you've learned something maybe. And like I say, this is a great way to wrap up the last 2 weeks where we've been talking about managing emotions. If you've not seen the other videos of the other activities, do go check them out. They're great for people of all ages. This is a skill that we can all work on and work on improving as well. Being able to feel more in control of how we're feeling and how we respond to situations. But yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching. Please do take care, stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys soon.